Hey everyone, welcome back to Sum It Up with the Sumners. I'm Katoya and
Damon.
yes, we are the Sumners. That is why this podcast is called Sum It Up with the Sumners.
Let them know.
Okay. All right. Just feel like I keep me to drop subtle nuggets.
Small things.
Yeah, just let you know.
You never know when people start listening.
Yeah, you don't know. And this isn't a podcast that you necessarily have to follow in order. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's who we are. We're a married couple, and we're happy to be doing this and happy that if you have been rocking with us, that you're back for another week. And we got some fun stuff. But before we get into there, you guys know we need to remind you that we want to keep interacting with you, okay? So, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube to watch live streams, and listen to us on Spotify.
Not live streams, full episodes.
You're right.
You would have came to YouTube and like, hey, that's a live streams.
I'm sorry. All this lingo, it gets a little confusing. But to catch us in person in videos of our podcast.
Yeah.
If you're not watching them right now, but you probably are listening either on Apple or Spotify. And as always, we appreciate your support.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Yeah.
Solid.
It's true. And then, of course, become a patron on Patreon.
Definitely. Patreon gives you the exclusive content. Right now, if you're listening to this here, we've got bonus episodes waiting on you. Some other exclusive content you want to check out.
Right.
Some other goodies going down.
Right.
I got a little special something
My goodies. Hey!
But
serious. There's goodies over there.
She was in that thing,
a little Sierra, a little throwback.
Take it up, CC. And then also continue to please rate and review. We got a review this week.
Yep, we do. So, coming hot from Apple and reading Catchy 45. Thanks, Catchy.
Appreciate you.
Says 5 stars.
5 stars.
Yes. Finally. 3 exclamation marks. So excited about these two loving people. A must listen.
Must.
A must.
That's a command.
Hey, throw this one on into your list. This is a must listen.
Shut it.
Yeah, we agree with that.
Catch, appreciate you.
Yeah. Just so you know, we're only going to read ones we agree with. So just, but anyway.
We will shout you out if you put it in there sooner or later.
Please rate, review, and subscribe. It is our goal to highlight your reviews of our podcast because it's just good energy. It just feels good. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the positivity, and we want to keep bringing it. So please rate, review, subscribe, follow. All of those words
all
exist
that jazz.
on one of those platforms.
All that.
All right, so getting into it today. Today we're talking about your relationship in connection to
your family.
Mm-hmm. Now, we debated on how to say family, okay? Mm-hmm. I said your birth family, and then Damon said that kind of sounds like adoption and all that kind of, stuff. I just meant like the family you came from. The family of your mom, dad, brother, sister,
caregiver,
your immediate family.
Yeah.
Because now that you're married, you now have your own immediate family, right? So how does your mama, daddy, grandma, aunt, cousin, uncles, brother, sister play a part into your relationship?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of good because, it's a lot of factors here.
A lot of factors.
Right? And one of the main factors being your background. Mm-hmm. Your family dynamic and background. Because that's going to set the pace or not set the pace of how it transitions into your family. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you see your parents raising you and you're like, I'm not going to do that when I get kids. Or, that was so good and I'm really going to do that with my kids. It's either or. So the backgrounds really kind of set the pace for how that transitions into your relationship. Yeah. So, Damon, tell us a little bit about your family background.
Man, so long story short, because, we try to keep this for 30-ish minutes for y'all, so we're going to get right to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
I had a very close relationship, still have a very close relationship with my dad, but primarily grew up in a single mom, single parent home with my 2 younger brothers. That's the oldest. Shout out to my oldest out of here. We know what it is. And so my mom was married to my dad. They got divorced. And then she was married for a little bit when I was in middle school to another guy. James Lee Pettifoot. And then got to the third, who she's married to now, arguably the sweetest man in the land. Mr. Ryan Richards. And so she's been married 3 times. And here's the thing. When we talk about background family, because this is a really interesting topic because there's a lot of ways to go about it. I know that people, I have a relationship with, like, just as friends and things of that nature. They kind of put families on different pedestals for different people, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you'll hear when I describe my family, how Katoy describes her family, and then I want us to kind of just share an inkling of how do we either past, present, or future perceive each other's family. So anywho. So, long story short, when I talk about relationally here, my mother specifically, amazing, but she was never really too affectionate verbally or physically. My dad was the mushy one, right? He was the one kissing you on your forehead at 7th grade class, right? On the field trip and things like that, saying I love you in the car. It's like, all right, Pops, I got it. I holla. Right, and this, that, and the other. And so that was one end. And then, we always were a family who we didn't really talk about real issues. Like, we just kind of kept everything just kind of surface level, you know what I'm saying? And so there's so many pros and grows when you're talking about when you reflect on your family background, you make a model here. And so, my dad, he never remarried. He had a couple strong relationships. Yet growth mindset. And if that's what he wanted to do, which it sounds like.
Hey, he's available and single.
Huh?
Just throwing it out there. The only requirement is that you're our age or older.
That's important. That's going to be important.
Just shouting that out there.
Yes, that's important to know right there. Holla at him. Damn it, Sumner Senior. Yeah, and so he's been in a few different relationships, and I've seen him kind of finagle, being out here in these streets. I got stories. You can hit me up later about those. But
let's trade it safe for you. Our parents are some of our largest
I like to live on the edge.
Our parents are some of our largest supporters.
I live freely. You hear me? So that's just a quick snapshot of my family.
Yeah.
That
sounds good. Yeah. So I am
the Highs.
The Highs. That's my maiden name. I was Katoya High. You can imagine what that did and growing up. Something happened there. So, yeah, I'm a High, and the Highs are my primary family. Consists of my mother and my father have been married. For how old am I?
33.
Yeah, so about 34 years they've been married. I have 2 brothers, and I'm the middle child. And my dad was previously married twice before my mom, so 3 marriages.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they didn't last. His motto used to be, "You can't get along, move on."
Oh.
I know. And one thing that's really weird a little bit is that one of his former wives' names was Vicky. My mom's name is Vicky, so that was a little odd.
That's a little weird.
That's a little odd.
That's a little bit.
That's okay. We moved on because it's like 34. That's old news.
Old news, baby.
And that meant nothing to the way I grew up. But
Facts.
so, I grew up in a 2-family home, and 2-parent home, 3 siblings, and we're all pretty spread apart. So I have an older brother who's about 9 years older than me, Steve Jr., me. And then my younger brother, Jalen, who's about 8 to 9 years apart from me, too. So we're all kind of like spread out there a little bit. But we loved each other. Big, happy family for the most part. My dad was a hard worker. That was his thing. He worked hard, and he'd come in and cook and hang. But my mom kind of like took care of the house, right? That was her. She did that. She took us with her. Things of sorts in that way. Very affectionate family for the most part. Lots of hugs and kisses and hanging out in beds. Like the bed was like the couch almost. Just go to the room and hang out in the bed and chill and things of that sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, we did things together in our house. I don't feel like we did a lot outside of our house necessarily, but we did lots of things in our house. Just hang out, playing. Yeah. We talked a lot, and that probably was a lot to do with me. I was the person who brought probably feeling and expression into our home because I had a lot of that, and I needed to know that I could do it in my house, and I needed to be understood.
Come on.
And it was really important for me to be understood at all costs. So even in the middle of whoopings, I would be understood.
You don't hear me.
No, you don't, but listen. And I was just extremely emotional. And they had to figure out how to deal with that because I wasn't letting up.
Facts.
So that's kind of a lot around my family.
Caveat, just to kind of be clear here. Our families are great. They're amazing here. Just want you to know that
They
here.
are.
Okay, so I just want to be clear.
They're absolutely amazing.
We're also just going to be honest, not in a negative sense.
I'm
but like
nervous.
Just, no, there's nothing nervous. No, I'm just saying when you're talking about family, we're opening up. We're being honest about families here.
Yeah.
Right. So I said that to say I want you to kind of share based off of hanging around us, right? Reunions, holidays, hanging.
Yeah.
Just when, especially, I'm intrigued on at the beginning. So what was your perception coming from your family?
Yeah.
Some interesting observations about my family.
The only thing for me is like, because we're speaking from like all of my life. I came into Damon's life at 18, you know, so it wasn't a lot of affection, wasn't tons of like, tons of
dialogue, communication.
Yeah, a lot of dialogue and communication. Yeah, so communication
specific?
Was like a lot of gaps in stories of life, like family history. Just had gaps, and I'm like, I got questions, and they're like,
and I was like, girl,
we never talked about that.
We don't ask questions in this house.
I was like, I don't understand. I ask a lot of questions and I process a lot of emotions.
Nobody knows, okay? He just walked like that.
And
Keep
we
moving.
just move on.
That's it.
So that's kind of like a lot of what it was. That's kind of what I sense, you know, but definitely a sense of brotherhood and things like that, you know, from a sibling side. And yeah, your mom is amazing. I really think she's one of the
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, she's amazing. And she's a grandmother like nobody's grandmother has ever been. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you already kind of alluded to it, but I had never seen a family be as verbal and affectionate as you guys were. Coming in at 18, from her going into her house and seeing her family, I saw them have, you know, they welcomed me right on in that thing. I just sat on that couch quiet many a times back in the day, and so I would see them kind of get into a few little spats, and I didn't see that. We weren't doing it at my house, and then I would look back in 7 minutes. And they were just cuddling on the bed, just together. I love you. You say I love you on a Tuesday? And I'm just like, wow. And it's like, I just was like, that was the first thing that came as we started dating years ago when we were old, just pups and just babes in these streets. Where I was just like, wow, this is different for my family.
Yeah.
And so this episode and this conversation is really interesting because we've talked about it before, about how, and I've said this exclusively, on paper, exclusive relationships and specifically marriage, it seemed like it shouldn't work. Like just on paper, just like, that's how I was raised, this how I was raised, we're going to come together and put all that together in one pot and stir it. It's like, ugh. But this is why it's so important to kind of figure out how does our family, our birth family to be specific, play a part with now where we are as a couple.
Right. And, you know, it's really important, I mean, because like you said, we would get into it a lot. And because my family has no problem communicating. We over communicate. And we communicate sometimes prematurely, which therefore causes tension. But then you let it cool down and you're ready to say, hey, I'm sorry, that shouldn't have happened. Like, I don't think we're a lot of dwellers in my family. Mm-mm. Yeah. Mm-mm. And I think we're definitely more of a shaker. My mom may be a little bit more of a dweller, but like, my dad is a dweller. Sorry.
If you don't know dwellers and shakers, go back and check out the conflict episode.
Daddy, I love you. You know, my dad is a dweller. Like, he sits in that for a minute, you know, but I think everybody else kind of shakes. I don't know. But, you know, so I think that we would really get out our feelings. And at the end of the day, everybody wanted to express the way they felt in the moment. But then, like, at the same time, you like, I felt that way, but I still love you. You know, like, it's hard. Like, I'm going to give it to you, but you know I love you. Like, it's in the same line. Like you said, 7 minutes later. But I do love
you. That's it. During the same commercial break.
It's like, but he really didn't feel like it like 7 minutes ago. Because I needed to let out
and I'm on the couch emotions. Like, you know what? I'm going to get out of here.
And you're like, no, you're a part of this.
I'm going to go. No, I'm going to go. I'll see you at school.
But then it's like, I mean, since then, that's like very beginning. But now we've been in each other's lives, like, you know. So,
almost have.
For 15 years.
We get up here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Almost matched.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. You know, more times in my life than not in my life.
Come on, somebody. We almost there, baby.
That's a big deal.
And so I think for us, just kind of a little bit of background, it's important we feel, every relationship to figure out where those boundaries begin and end when you're talking about your birth family. We'll just use that lingo for the. I think that's a
Yeah.
good conversation here because it's important because you're coming together to try to create something new, something original, something undone, right?
Right.
To and so we're really about oneness and togetherness, as you've kind of heard from how we handle money to how we handle parenting to et cetera, et cetera. And so the boundaries are essential.
Yeah.
The boundaries are important at an early stage, in the middle stage. You may have to revamp things because things change, but the boundaries are going to help give and have helped us kind of create our own family, our own world, our own kind of just perspective.
Yeah.
And that has been really important for us to kind of thrive in our own right.
It's true. I agree with that. I really do. So, coming from our backgrounds, really transition us into what it looks like for us as our own family. Because like I said, you in the beginning, you're either going to say, well, I want these things or I don't want those things. And there's definitely wonderful nuggets that I took from my family. And I've actually been extremely conscious because, now that everybody's like 25 to 40, they're like reevaluating life as it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you start your own thing, you're like, I'm going to reinvent it my way. And you can often look negatively upon, some of the ways that you were. But everybody is just trying their very best. I mean, it is like the heaviest of my heart that one day my kids are like, yeah, my mom, she sucked. And I'm like, God dog it. I tried my best. Did we just talk about that last podcast? I tried my best, okay? And that is the thing. Our parents tried their best with whatever they've been given. But then it's like, but now that you're establishing your own relationship with someone, how much influence do you allow them to have?
Yes.
And a lot of times I do mean this. I mean, it just depends, right? And I think I'll start it with like kind of me and Damon starting our togetherness. So, as you know, yes, we started dating very early. I mean, we started dating at 18. It was cool. Parents were all good. Could have thought something about each other. Whatever, they let us be. We also were both pretty responsible teens. Not really causing many problems. Had no real reason to doubt the judgment that they had established in us. Because really, it's about how we were groomed and the fruit that we showed of being as mature as we could be between 18. So we went off to college. We got married. I mean, we did get married, but. We went out to college, continued dating, and then decided that we were going to get married. And then we were a hot 20 deciding that, which is a big deal. No parent really wants their child to get married at 20 because that's like when we talked about with myths, that's practically not going to last either. Just like high school isn't going to last. Like, you're like, uh-oh, child, let me warn you against that. But we were like, no. And we were so,
We were trying to elope. Remember that?
Yeah, we were ready. We were also like, it's like, we're just hot in the faith. Like, it's just exploding, like I'm still exploding for Jesus, of course, but I'm just saying, like, it was like, we're doing it right, we trying to do it great, and we need to get married because I also really want to have sex. Like, it's like but you wanted to really believe,
let it burn.
But we've been like, no, I do believe that this is who I want to be with for the rest of my life. Right. And we know that this is what we want to do. We've talked to our circle about it. We've talked to each other about it. Right. And now we must bring it to our family at 20. So we did.
Bang.
We went in. I went into. It's like really a big deal for a girl, I think, for sure, right? So I'm like, all right, I don't know. I can't remember if I told. No, we told them together. Okay. That this is what we wanted to do. We came in.
We sat
at the table. And I was like, I don't know. Is the couch, the table? I can't remember if it was even just me. Did I say it first or did we say it? I can't. Y'all, I'm sorry. Damon, you must not have been a part if you don't remember. Because you don't remember this. Too much. But I remember sitting down and just being like, I want to get married to Damon. I thought Damon was with me. He might not have been. But just came in and directly told my parents, like, this is what we want to do. And this, and ultimately, we're on the same page, and we're going to go about it. And then another way that we kind of made that, like, straight was, like, we didn't ask for a lot of money for a wedding. Nah, like, to be honest, we asked, like, first of all, our wedding was under, like, $5,000 in our honeymoon. It's another podcast.
Another day.
That was also many blessings and many great people in our life. However, we were like, all right, if each family, or if we could just get $500 from everybody, maybe it's $1,000 or $500 to $1,000.
Hey,
But like it was
we
just
out your
like
hair.
that's all we need.
That's it.
If you can just like
You
give
can
me,
give us that.
we're gonna let you because we got married quick, right? So we got it was an engagement in
Boom.
December.
December.
They got married in July. So you got like about
Get your coins.
8
Get your
months,
bag together.
7 months to kind of try to find this out for us if you can. But if you can't, no worries.
No worries.
We'll figure it out because we were like we're gonna do this almost with or without you.
Mm-hmm.
But we were solid in what we wanted
Collectively, as one.
and so we went to them. And again, like I said, they didn't have any reason to feel that we weren't gonna be making the right decisions. So it was like my daddy was like. You know, he didn't say nothing. My daddy say something to my mom, but he don't say it directly to me. I don't even understand that. But
it'll get to you when it gets to you.
So my dad's like feeling out probably kind of some ways, maybe based upon, his experience or so. But then also just looking out for his little girl, but knowing that he has no real problem with Damon. But just like, this is a big commitment that my daughter's about to get into. And then my mom is like, all right, if that's what you want to do. Don't you think it's a little soon, a little early? She gave her, thoughts about it. But ultimately it was like, if that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. You have a side from your side about saying it?
They were like, yeah, all right, big dog. Do it. She great.
See, that's why the background is very important.
You see that? They were like, cool. You going to China? All right, be safe. Pack a bag.
Right, because that was another thing, right? So they get through the fact that we're getting married. Great, moving on. Got it. Bet. Then we're like, forget China. We're moving to Atlanta. And they were like, oh my gosh, because my parents were like, oh, and we were pregnant. Y'all know the story. And so we're like, what are the parents going to say? Mm-hmm. Parents are like, that's not a good decision. And you're like, we're doing it. Because we just keep establishing this boundary that as a family, us too, because at this point there's no children, we're making these decisions. And as a parent, you also want to let your children succeed and fail, right? You can't overcrowd them. And so that's why just setting these boundaries up, because these big changes, right? We're going through change of getting married young, of moving to an entire state. Neither of your family left from Louisiana to Dallas, so that was a move. But sure. But then like my parents have always lived in Texas and have not lived anywhere else. Right, so yeah, neither have any of my siblings. So it's like, what you think you're doing? And then not only did we move to Atlanta, 2 years later, we decided we're moving to an entire another country, right? Like they're like, what are you doing? But yet again, I haven't given them any reason that we're unstable or that we can't handle it. So although they kept giving their input, we kept a united stance in our decision. And that's what we're trying to say. It's like ultimately, no matter what decision you are based on, I do think a track record is somewhat important, right? You can't let your family infiltrate too much into what you're newly establishing in your new family with you and your spouse.
Yeah. Listen, building the foundation is crucial. And that oneness and that togetherness is going to be paramount. Whether you're dating and you're exclusive, whether you're out here in these streets, whether you're married for 42 years, that building that foundation collectively is essential. And so the communication that goes into it is going to be paramount when you're talking about the expectations of like, just as far as how much input you really want to really allow into your relationship. Now, we're all for counsel and seeking advice and taking wisdom. But then now, as a couple, you got to be like, all right, we're going to take this, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to make our decision. Right. And those type of conversations constantly have to be had, not just once.
And they're not easy.
No, they're not easy because especially if you've been in a relationship for a while here, think back when you first got started, you knew your family most. You grew up with them. Yeah. So when we're talking about when we started.
And you still love them, right? Yeah. Like your input does matter, but at some point we're adults and you have to make the best decision, and they shouldn't be only based off of your family. Now that always means something different. If you're taking care of loved ones, that's different. My parents are able-bodied and doing well, and there are more siblings. It's not just me or just Damon, right? So you listen. It's important to listen because your family does essentially, for the most part, know you best, right? They've experienced you in all kind of different facets. They've watched you grow, and they love you and only want what's best for you, but sometimes what's best for you is only seen from their world view. And that's when you say, okay, I know this is going to wrestle my mom, or this is going to bother my dad, but and they can share their peace if that's the type of family you have. My family's gonna share their peace. Damon's family might say, "Okay, all right, son, try it." It's a little different, but you have to know that that decision might be cause tension, but then bringing it back into your family, bringing the concerns to the table, and then still processing through the decision collectively, because it's who's dealing with the decision is you all.
Couture is my number one. That's all that is to it. That which is a teaser to a segment we'll talk about in a minute. So everything else that comes into any influence or insight or conversation, it comes back to Couture, and then we discuss it, and then we move forward with whatever decision we're going to make.
Right.
That's point simple blank period right there. And so that is how we have created our relationship. That's where all the communication funnels in and out of. And so also I think it's important to just always showcase the united front. Right, I think that's just something important when you're talking about family.
Yeah.
It's just showing a united front. And I'm not saying you ain't gonna be at the house over Thanksgiving and you may get into a spat. Yeah, I get that. But just coming in and showing no, we are together. So what you got? Go ahead, put your finger up on
My only thing is front. It's not a front.
Oh no. I'm just saying.
No matter
everything.
Even if there is the difference,
right.
You're still coming in collective, right? You that means you just have more work that you need to process on, but you have to be united. United front sounds like either a front or united in front. I don't really know the way it's supposed to be interpreted necessarily.
We together. That's what it's supposed to sound like.
We make these decisions.
We together. We are the Sumners. Sum it up. And I think another element when we're talking about what does that look like? How do we do that, Sumners? I think one thing that we've done is that we've tried to, and I think many people do, is try to, this is where you can cherry pick. Where cherry pick is just you take what's good and you leave what you don't want. And so, we try to constantly, as we get into different phases of our relationship and just from parenting, just as a couple, of just reflect back on, man, this is something that either through conversation or just thinking, oh, this is something that we did here. This is great, right? Because again, you got two different people coming to the same table and just laying it all out. This how I grew up. This how we did parenting. Oh, this how we handled money. Oh, I ain't handle money like that. And so now we gotta boom. Well, this what affection look like in my family. Oh, we ain't say it like that.
Yeah.
And so now, again, bringing it together.
Yeah. All
right, you got to be able to come to an agreement and kind of build again that foundation collectively. So there's definitely been things. I mean, just the hard work and flexibility and the work ethic. I'm just talking about my parents specifically that I saw them do. I was just man, that is something as a husband, as a leader, as a dad. I'm just yo, that's what we bringing into. That's a mentality.
Yeah.
That was a mentality that was instilled in me, and I want to make sure it's instilled in us as a family.
Right.
And I want to lead out with. You know what I'm saying? And so that's just one thing. I'm oh, we taking that.
Yeah.
The fact that we ain't say I love you but twice a year, we gonna keep that. We gonna keep that. I say I love you now 25, 35, 45 times a day. Get about 14 kisses going up the stairs. We wasn't kissing out at my house back in 97. Oh, baby, no. And so those are things you just, all right, I'm going to take that. I'm going to kind of lead that, and we're going to mend that on that side right there.
Yeah, right. And that's something that we do, too, as a family. I take that from my family, just being affectionate. I might leave a little bit of the harshness sometimes, but I love you. But, I probably still bring it because it's still in me, too. Mission feels that probably the most.
An example here. I don't know if you remember this story I'm going to share, which is 1 minute, but probably in the first year of either us, probably marriage, first year of marriage, we got into a little heated spat, and Katoya told me to shut up. That's a small thing. I understand. We're adults. However, coming based off of primarily my upbringing, it hit me. We were your first year in marriage. We're trying to figure this out. She told me to shut up, and I was hey. When we were cool headed, we got to handle conflict in the right time. And I was I don't really appreciate that. We ain't just gonna be going around telling me to shut up in here. And I meant that definitely coming out the way I was raised. And Katoya, and our love and grace, she probably in her head can be that's dumb. Come on, we grown out here. But she took it. She was all right, maybe that she did that or didn't say that in her family, or she didn't even tell it to me. And we kept moving.
We said, shut up, you ugly
sure.
dumb.
But what we did,
we had words, but we had I love you. Shortly after.
But what we don't do is we don't tell each other to shut up, like in this
Yeah.
rude, disrespectful type of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so she came in, saw something that I wanted based off of my upbringing, and was like, "Bet we're gonna lay that foundation.
Right.
That's what we're doing. Bet we ain't hanging up on people. Bet that's what we're doing. We're gonna lay that foundation." So those habits, you give and you take. You see what's great, and you leave that. I think we made this up. This is don't steal this here, but it's something I heard this before. Whatever. Everything new ain't good. Everything old ain't bad.
Then we didn't make that up.
I feel like I made that up.
That
Now let me know
like
if y'all heard that before.
Yeah,
I've never heard
pretty,
that. I've never heard that before in my life. I think I made that up. Everything new ain't good. Everything old ain't bad. I feel like I made that up.
Yeah.
You've heard that before?
I feel like it's so general. Sure.
No. Well, so is life, love, laugh. But somebody got money.
Live, love.
See, somebody got money. Somebody got money. You can't see behind our head. Anyway. So those are just some ways, right? You're talking about a little practicality.
It's true. And like I said earlier, I do feel like when you start your new family, we're just so fancy these days. All this new stuff that we do, and we think it's great. And like some people don't even discipline their children. I don't even understand that. But like, that just makes me confused.
My stomach hurts saying that.
What
does that even mean?
Anyway, but like these new ideas that we have. It's just important to not discredit, like I think I'm a pretty decent person. So my parents have done something well, right? Like whether I've always agreed with everything or not or whatever, I'm very grateful for the good things that I brought. But I still, I want to take those good things and put them in, and the things that I maybe don't love, then I'm going to try my best not to do them. Some of the I don't love still exists within me as a person because, I grew up with that. So I have to kind of be like, I don't really want to handle it in that way, but that's a fight, but I think ultimately what we want to see, you have to put the parameters. They shouldn't be, completely maneuvering what you got going on at home.
Mm-hmm.
But that's always to do with a solid foundation at home, right? Like you got to be on that same page before thoughts and inputs and ideas come in,
All that's beneficial. All the way down to how, because you want to create something we are constantly trying to do is just create our own norms, our own traditions, right?
Yeah.
Our own things. Like, how do you handle holidays?
Right. And that's always tough. Fortunately, our parents live in Texas together, like both of our grandparents.
And that's not the case for everybody.
No, it's not. Right.
We got that pretty good. So, like, even those things there are, like, kind of really figuring out. And before you kind of go to the family, say, what y'all think about us coming to Thanksgiving every year? Well, did you have a conversation with the babe before you pull up?
Well, my mom really likes that. Well, my dad really likes this. Well, how do you mend the gap for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. For the well-being of your own family, and then think about, all right, how do we love our birth families in this dynamic too. And I think that like most families understand. Now see, we also sit at different advantage because we have the only grandchildren. So worlds revolve around grandchildren, so it's kind of like, okay, the grandchildren matter, but when there are multiple different families of grandchildren, then I'm sure it gets a little bit messy. But it's important to kind of talk about what that looks like, a cycle or whatever it is. Stay here, everybody come home here, or whatever. It's a communication, but you have to kind of have a solid understanding first in your own home.
Boom.
Yeah.
Gotta have a strong foundation.
Right.
Listen, let us know. Let us know how you feel about the roles, the roles in your family, because they're important. As you're growing, it's going to change, and always it's going to be important to constantly have consistent conversations about it.
Yeah.
But listen, this was good. Hope you found value in it. Man, we really appreciate y'all rocking with us. Everything. Check us out on everything where you can find podcasts. YouTube's got the full videos, and of course, keep checking us out on Patreon. Consider joining us and rocking with us for the exclusive content. Damon Katoya here. What is Sumners? We'll see you next time.